this time we'll be doing a review on DC Universe Classics Series 16, Robin. I initially didn't know whether to approach this figure as two different figures or the same, and thus cover it in either one video or two separate videos. I think it's a little bit easier since there's not that much difference here between the figures, so I'm just going to do it in one video. Starting off with the card backings, you can see they're both exactly the same except for the picture here. You can see the differences in the well, really it's only the head that's different. They do come posed a little bit different. The Golden Age Robin is posed very dynamically, as if he was climbing up a wall. The classic Robin, the one that's associated mostly with the 80s and the Super Friends, is posed in a pretty straightforward pose. Getting to the card back here, this is the larger card back than previous waves. It's the same size as the Green Lantern, so I'm guessing that this is the standard size for now, which is funny because they are increasing the prices on these 6-inch figures, so I really hate to think that we're just paying for extra packaging. So we get a biography and statistics. Again, both the same, other figures in the wave, and the Build-A-Figure. I'm going to be starting off with the Golden Age Robin. I see a lot of people are identifying this guy as the Jason Todd Robin for some reason. And as you see, this mask here is how he looked when he first made his appearance in Detective Comics number 38 in 1940, shown here. And he sported this look up through the 60s, including on the television series, as you can see here, and really only changed to the domino mask during the 70s. Because he's packaged in such a dynamic pose, his left leg is totally bent out of position, which isn't really apparent until you try to stand him up. So, again, Mattel seems to be damaging its figures by trying to put them in dynamic poses. I'd much rather have the figure in a nice neutral pose, doesn't cause warping of the legs or arms, instead of having it look good in the package. Now that's because of the way I collect my figures. Some people don't open them, and that may appeal to them. I would suggest that if they were going to do that, a better pose would be something like this. You know, an homage to his first appearance. Sculpt-wise, they're the same figure, apart from that little warping of the leg. Everything else is exactly the same. Because of that bent leg, he does have a hard time standing up. But you get him in just the right spot and he will stay still. So I'll just move right on to the head there, which I think is a very good representation of a classic 40s, 50s, and 60s Robin. Being is that Robin was still, for the most part, a young boy. The head doesn't really fit the rest of the body. And I think that's why you get this bobble effect here that you may have noticed. If you also notice on my figure, the paint there is chipped off, and that came like that in the package. Otherwise, I'm happy with the sculpt. It looks really good, but I just wish they had used the teen body. If they had used the smaller teen Buck body that they have, like one they used to do the Tim Drake Robin here, I think if you put that head on this type body, it would be a much better fit. Here is the sort of 70s, 80s, what I like to call the new Teen Titans Robin. So yeah, you can notice the domino mask instead of the wraparound mask. Although, since he is packaged in a much more neutral stance, he does not have the warped leg. It isn't really picking up here as much as I thought it would, but trust me, it's there. His left foot here is still a little bit warped, but not as much. I think that's more to do with the positioning of the ankle more than anything else. So looking at his face here, you see that he's got kind of a creepy smile there, but I think that's because of the teeth are given such detail. Because the further you get away and can not see the individual teeth, the more sort of okay looking it becomes, but the closer up you get, the sort of weird and more bizarre it looks, at least to me. The same can be said of some of the previous figures, like the Alan Scott Green Lantern and Obsidian. If they just gave him a sort of basic white mouth, I think that would work. He's got this cape here. It is glued into the back and secured onto the front here. It is pretty stiff, but it does get out of the way of most of the articulation. His arms do go all the way around. You do have to pull them out a little bit to clear the top portion of his cape there. He rotates at the bicep. It's got double elbow joints. Starting to see a lot more figures with those. He swivels and bends at the wrists. That too is becoming the standard for DC Universe figures. A little bit of upper torso articulation, not much though. He's got waist articulation, which is very tough for me to get beyond there or there, so I'm not going to force it. Legs go forward and back very nicely, considering that there is this piece of his tunic there. And they go out to the side very nicely, so you can get some acrobatic poses. Swivels at the lower thigh. He's got double knee joints, again, something that a lot of these newer figures are having. And his ankle do bend and rotate. I don't particularly like these compared to the sort of the normal joints, but I can understand why they did that. with Robin. They didn't want a big, chunky foot there. So both Robins come with the same accessories, the grappling hook, and they're pretty strong for being a soft plastic. I had my Golden Age version hanging from a metal bar for a while now, several days. Pretty rugged, but I wouldn't push it too much. He's also got a batarang, a very small batarang, almost too small to fit into his hand, but it's just big enough. I think we're pretty much all aware of the backstory of Robin. His parents were murdered at the Big Top. Bruce Wayne was in the audience, and as Batman sought vengeance, but also felt something towards the situation that Dick Grayson was put into as Bruce Wayne. So he decided to become the legal guardian of Dick Grayson. Then when Robin found out that Bruce was the Batman, Bruce decided to take him into his crusade as well, thus solidifying their connection even more, because not only are they connected by tragedy, now they're connected with this sense of justice. The thought process of, we have the ability to do something, and we should do it, even if it means bending the law by being quote-unquote vigilantes. But I think what Robin represented to Batman was a connection not only to another person, but to society in general. Other writers have picked up on this through the years. Robin is a way for Batman to keep himself in the light and from sliding into becoming just as bad as the criminals and surrendering his identity, his Bruce Wayne identity, into Batman. And so it's a way to keep him grounded, human. That worked for Robin and Batman when Robin was a kid who admired and looked up to and was learning stuff from Batman. But as Robin grew older, that relationship kind of got strained. Robin had the Teen Titans, of course, and especially when he went off to college, as any child does, and there tends to be a rift. Eventually, he gives up the costume and identity of Robin, feeling that he's progressed past the point of wanting to be the Batman's sidekick. He, of course, develops into the persona of Nightwing. And, of course, we know that he was replaced by first Jason Todd and then by Tim Drake. Recently, Damian Wayne, the biological son of Bruce Wayne, has taken over the role of Robin with Dick Grayson as Batman. So there's sort of a twist to the whole Batman-Robin dynamic, whereas now Dick Grayson as Batman has to make sure that Damian doesn't slip into or past the point of no return by surrendering his humanity Yeah, so it's funny that he's still doing the same thing he did as a kid, but now he's doing it for Bruce Wayne's son. So anyway, and that's really why I like Robin, and the idea of Robin is that Robin is supposed to ground Batman, or tether Batman to some sort of semblance of life, normal life. I much prefer to see a Dick Grayson Batman with a Tim Drake Robin. Of course, Tim Drake has moved on to become Red Robin, and so I don't think there's any way for him to go back now, especially since Damian is such a hit character right now. Yeah, so I think a lot of people see Robin in the wrong circumstance. They just don't get, why would Batman put a kid in danger? Why the brightly colored costume, basically making the kid a target? And Dick Grayson in particular, because Dick Grayson is a character who, although his parents have been murdered, just like Bruce Wayne's, yet he has not slipped into the somber, morose, kind of gloomy attitude that Bruce Wayne fell into. Not to say that Dick Grayson hasn't had his moments of being mopey and all woe is me, but for the most part, he remains this shining beacon of what it is to be a hero, to have all the training and aptitude of Batman, and yet still have sort of this optimistic outlook of Superman. And that'll be it for the DC Universe Classics Wave 16 Robin figures, both the Golden Age and not really Silver Age, more Bronze Age. Until my next review, be seeing you.